We went from a very small community-based event to Idaho's largest entrepreneurial event.
People migrate to where there's opportunity, right? And so, you go to some other places and I think there's kind of waning opportunity, where here in Boise, it seems like there's waxing opportunity, right? There's definitely like a moment and growth that's happening here.
It started with someone having a dream and taking the risk to do something about it. And 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever it may be, going, okay, I still remember what that was like. I lived that, I experienced it, and how can I take everything that I've learned and truly pay it forward?
Relationships are built, and they last, and they go beyond just Entrepreneur Week.
Having somebody believe in you can be kind of a game changer. If there is somebody in your life that's like going through the struggle, going through the hustle, and you believe in what they're doing, let them know. It can mean the world to them.
Top of the morning to you, Boise Entrepreneur Week. Welcome back to 2024. I am so excited to be here with you this morning. I have with me Jacob Grinwis, Boise Entrepreneur Week co-chair, as well as Trailhead's Director of Ops. Don't do what I did and register for Boise Entrepreneur Week, because I actually don't even have my badge yet.
They look pretty cool.
They are pretty cool. Tickets are free. You can also get a VIP ticket. That said, I want to give you a little bit of an overview for what we have in store for you for 2024, pointing out at least one track that's new this year. We have the creative track, led by our friend Zubeida and Annika Kalak, who is also Trailhead's marketing manager. Really excited to dive into the creative community around Boise. I was just at the Chamber Gala last week, and they highlighted nonprofits doing ballet and opera. Last night we had our party at Treefort Music Hall, or above Treefort Music Hall at Hap Hap, also with some friends in the creative industries around Boise. So definitely a track for you to check out. It's a new track. Every year we try to prototype a new track and kind of throw it out there and see what the response is like. This year it's the creative track, so please show your support, show up, register for it. That said, we are here.
Sorry, Tim, before we get too far from that, who should go to the creative track?
I think first and foremost people who are in the creative industries. And when I say creative, that's to me music, film, art, marketing, design. Am I missing anyone?
I think the only one I could think of is fashion, but really that's kind of the point I was getting at. It's for everybody.
It's for everyone, yeah. I'll definitely be there. I don't belong in any of those categories I just rattled off, but I'll be there to check it out. I'm really excited to see, how the creative community, and we have a big one in Boise.
Huge.
And I want to see how they show up and what they do with the track. And that said, we are here, Bu Live. We'll be here for the next 2 days doing 15-minute segments like this. And we are situated on the 6th floor. You can't see it, but around us is a beautiful setup for a brand new event at Boise Entrepreneur Week from our friends at Boise Dev. So big shout out to Don Day, Kara Jackson, and her whole crew for really enriching Boise Entrepreneur Week with this new format, an event called Peak 43, celebrating the fastest growing companies in Idaho. We'll be giving away 2 awards at Peak 43. And speaking of today, Jacob, why don't you help us break down some of the events, some of the tracks, and tell people why they should be showing up today.
Sure thing. Yeah, well, today at Boise Entrepreneur Week, it's day 2 technically. Today's focused all around the tech sphere. So we have the health tech track and the cyber track starting off the day this morning with us. Those conversations are going to range from how UI UX is revolutionizing healthcare, specifically with the introduction of generative AI. We have expert speakers touching on that topic throughout the morning. The cyber track is going to be talking all about the intersections of cybersecurity and entrepreneurship, what it takes to launch a business in cybersecurity, is it too late for it, and all of those really thought-provoking questions. Later this afternoon, we're going to be joined by the tech track. They're head up by In Time Tech, good partners of Trailhead and of Boise Entrepreneur Week. So you'll want to catch that. They'll be introducing 5 different subject matter experts. We're going to be talking all about technology, generative AI, and all of the trending topics this year. And then, of course, like Tia mentioned, we've got Bu Live this morning and tomorrow morning from 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can tune in on YouTube. You can tune in on the Bu app, which is the best way. And really what these segments are going to do is give you a bite-sized clip, a bite-sized panel discussion of all of the key conversations we're having this year at Boise Entrepreneur Week. So if you're able to, come down to Jump. It's a free event, free to register, free to attend. A lot of good stuff happening, but if you're not able to make it down to Jump, we're bringing the content to you this year through Bu Live. So looking forward to sharing it.
You brought up a lot of good content for today. There's one thing, as Jacob was talking, I actually pulled up our brand new app that was created by Dionysus, who also makes the Tree Fort app. And it's so easy to navigate, it's so intuitive. You can just add the events that you're interested in and it builds you a little custom schedule. But as you were talking, I was scrolling, and we also have two new assets, if you will, at Boise Entrepreneur Week this year. We have our friends from Belong Coffee at Bu, and for all of you who need to fuel up during the day on coffee, they are going to be located where exactly today?
Yeah, they're located on the 5th floor, right outside. I'm not going to spoil it. TM's got another fun thing to share with you, but they're going to be located right on the 5th floor in the lobby area. So it's super convenient for you to grab a coffee from them and then head into your next session. They're not just a coffee cart either. They actually are a nonprofit organization, just like we are. And what they do is support people with disabilities to provide them with working opportunities and experience to get professional work on their resume. So what they do is coffee carts, they do ice cream carts. They've got a whole nonprofit building around that idea of let's get people with disabilities opportunities to work and to intermix with the entrepreneurial community. So super excited to invite them here. They've been around Trailhead for a while.
Yeah,
they're Trailhead members. Just
I really
like
enjoyed them at Trailhead, and I don't drink coffee, but I usually get a matcha or two and then just hand it out. But great people, great addition to our partnerships and ecosystem in Boise. So make sure to check out Belong Coffee.
Yeah, Belong Co. Coffee.
Belong Co. Coffee.
I'll be there probably all day. I'll need it.
And so the other thing I wanted to highlight is the fact that, people show up to Entrepreneur Week year after year, and we all have work to do. We know how it is to go to a conference. You got to fit in a call. You got to fit in at least 10 emails. I see Rourke Yeakley kind of back there already doing what I'm talking about right now. He's working. We are featuring a co-working center this year at Jump. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Trailhead Co-working Center at Jump is a fun new idea that we're testing out at Jump. Like Tia mentioned, we've seen that people kind of find anywhere they can to sip on their coffee and answer some emails quick, or maybe even hop in a meeting. And we thought we'd bring the community and the vibe that we have over at Trailhead just down the street right here to our attendees at Jump. So yeah, you'll be able to set up in a quiet place, take a meeting, maybe even jot down notes from the session you just saw. The whole bunch of fun stuff there. We're also giving out a lot of Trailhead merch. We've got some membership promos and free memberships to give out. So definitely stop by the Trailhead Co-working Studio while you're at Jump. It's going to be awesome.
So just as a subliminal message, if you find yourself at Jump at the Trailhead Co-working space and you like the vibe, you may want to walk down the street and check out Trailhead, the actual headquarters. Yeah. That's what we do on a daily basis.
I was going to say, do you guys know what Trailhead is?
Yeah. Well, speaking of Trailhead, great pivot. I think we should acknowledge the fact that it's Trailhead's 10-year anniversary. We have been in operations for 10 years. We're celebrating this milestone. We held our annual fundraiser last week, and only a crazy boss like me will throw an annual fundraiser right before our biggest event of the year. But at the fundraiser, we talked about the impact we've made over the last 10 years. We've quantified it into $1.4 billion of economic impact, and we measure that through job creation, the amount of revenue that's generated, the amount of money that's raised and or borrowed, as well as the earned media value that Boise Entrepreneur Week and Trailhead has achieved for the city of Boise.
Right.
So major milestone on a 10-year anniversary here. And with that milestone, Entrepreneur Week is also going to celebrate a huge milestone. This year we're going to award a couple $100,000 in non-dilutive cash to early stage entrepreneurs throughout our pitch competitions, which if you don't know about those, really those are the firework events at Boise Entrepreneur Week. It's all going to climax on Thursday. And I know I'm rattling off so many things to you. Just register for a free ticket, download the app, and you can on your own navigate the schedule. But the milestone I want to touch on is the fact that with this year's cash awards, we will surpass $1 million given away to early stage entrepreneurs in non-dilutive cash. How do you feel about that, Jacob?
Oh my gosh, how can you not feel great about it? What comes to mind immediately is just the gratitude that I have for all of the people who work to put this event together, all of the sponsors who support the cash prizes that we give out, who support the cost of this event that we host each year, all the volunteers that give their time to show up and support Idaho's entrepreneurs, and really all of you who are either tuning in, who are coming to the event, who are registering. Those metrics are ones that we should all take pride in because they truly are a group effort. You know, we organize this, but you guys are the ones who really give it fire. So thank you for supporting. Thank you to Jump for hosting us every year. It's going to be a special pitch competition on Thursday, I think, getting to surpass that milestone.
And speaking of pitch competition, you really, not only are you the BU co-chair, but you've really taken on all of the various pitch competitions at Boise Entrepreneur Week this year. I think noteworthy is the fact that we partnered with the Startup World Cup,
yes,
which takes place in parallel to Boise Entrepreneur Week. All to say that Idaho, for the first time, has put forth a contestant to travel to San Francisco on the world's biggest startup stage to compete for $1 million safe note. Ashley Crafton from Galena Innovations. She won the semifinals of Boise Entrepreneur Week just a couple of weeks ago for the pitch competition. And so what do you think is in store for the judges, for the audience, having been so closely involved with the pitch competitions this year?
Yeah, well, for the judges at the Startup World Cup, I'm going to issue a warning if you didn't see the live stream. Stand back. Ashley's pitches, that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Stand back. But not only because she might launch something at you, she also is coming to win. And I think Idaho has put forth, one of our best entrepreneurial champions to go try and get that $1 million. She's a Boise Entrepreneur Week legend, a Trailhead legend. So it's really cool to see it come full circle and for her to serve as our first representative at the Startup World Cup. So good luck, Ashley. We're rooting for you. The pitch competition this year, I think, will be a lot of fun. We have a pretty diverse mix. We've got people competing with software products. We've got some physical products. In the food industry, we have a couple innovative ideas. So I think what's in store for the pitch competition this year, it's going to be close. Sometimes, you know how it is, you see a standout and you see them from the application rounds to the semifinals to the finals. But this year, I truly think it's anybody's game. So I'm really excited to see how it shakes out. That's definitely one you'll want to see in person. If you can make it down to Jump on Thursday, it starts at 5:30. Get there early for an open happy hour at 5, presented by the Idaho Technology Council and Connect Her, another awesome organization in the Valley.
What about Trail Mix? Trail Mix, I believe, is the day before on Wednesday, right?
Yes, sorry, thank you. So that Thursday day is the general pitch competition, which is open to entrepreneurs in all industries. We see a lot of tech startups. We see a lot of software products.
Truly authentic to Idaho. It's not just SaaS, the typical VC backed. We got physical product, brick and mortar stores, and we have software.
Yep. And then the Trail Mix pitch competition is another marquee pitch competition at BU, but it focuses on entrepreneurs in the CPG industry or the consumer packaged goods. So think anything that you could buy at Albertsons. These entrepreneurs are going to be pitching. We've got 4 in the finals this year, and all of them are competing for shelf space at Albertsons, $50,000 in cash. And this year, thanks to our partners at Boise State, Studio Blue is chipping in a new consumer research test study. So that's a pretty cool asset, I think, to give to a startup who just got a ton of money to help bring their product to market. Now they can really test that product and fine-tune it before they make that big jump. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff in store. Like I said, get down to Jump if you can, Wednesday and Thursday, 5:30 to 7. That's when those pitch competitions will be happening. But you can always tune in on View Live if you're not able to make it.
Guys, we just throw a whole bunch of stuff at you. Obviously, Jacob and I have been living and breathing Entrepreneur Week for a couple of months now. All to say, get your free ticket on BoiseEntrepreneurWeek.org. Download the app, navigate the schedule on your own to try to make sense of all the assets that Jacob and I just threw at you. On that note, thank you for joining us. There's a session coming up right after ours, and see you at Jump.
Wait, there's one more thing. We were talking about Trailhead. I was thinking maybe we show them what our space looks like.
Great idea. Let's do that.
All right, well, we'll catch you next time. Enjoy the rest of the segments today on View Live, and here's Trailhead. Welcome to Trailhead Boise. We're located in the heart of downtown Boise. My name is Jacob. I'm our Director of Operations. Let me show you our co-working space. Our co-working memberships are designed to be affordable and accessible to any price point, and we offer two main types of memberships. What you're seeing behind me is our hot desk membership. This is your standard co-working setup. All of our desks are seat stand adjustable. They come with a monitor and an HDMI hookup. You come in, you find an open desk, and you get to work. If you're looking for a little bit more of a dedicated experience in a co-working space, we offer a dedicated desk membership. This provides you 24/7 access to Trailhead, a desk that's reserved for your exclusive use, and the ability to leave equipment, decorate the desk how you please, make it your own. Both of these membership levels come with access to reserve our meeting rooms. We've got a private meeting room, which is great for confidential calls, 2 group meeting rooms, which are conference style, great for collaboration, and then we've got 2 phone booths, which are great for quick calls on the go. Co-working is really just the beginning. We have a full suite of programs like Boise Pitch Night, You Lead Idaho, Boise Entrepreneur Week, Ideas at Go, and many more, which you can find on our website, tailored to help you at any step of your entrepreneurial journey. Whether you're at the very first stages, trying to take an idea from a napkin and turn it into a business, or you're pitching for your first investments, all the way to raising your Series A rounds. We have a full suite of tailored programs to help you learn the skills you need to be successful and connect you to the people in our resources who can help take your business to the next level. So whether you're an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business, or a remote worker looking to switch up the home office and find community, we're probably a great fit for you. Check us out next time you're in Boise.
The Boise office has been in business for 25 years now, and from the beginning it was integrated with all the other Perkins Coie offices, emphasizing local service in what was then and still is a robust, growing market here in Idaho.
The Boise office of Perkins Coie is one of our smaller offices by size, but definitely not one of the smaller ones by heart and passion. We definitely have a great group of folks that collaborate. They're like a family. And we have a lot of the key practice groups represented here. We've got litigation, business, of course, environmental, intellectual property, and that creates kind of a keystone to being able to reach out to the support in the rest of the firm. So if a client is working with the folks in the Boise office, they're not just working with the Boise office, they're working with the whole firm. And the Boise office has just a great group of very, very smart people, but also ambassadors for the rest of the firm.
Boise is pretty mature high-tech community. And Idaho historically got a lot of technology footprint as well. Idaho National Labs is headquartered here. A lot of early nuclear research was done here. Boise State University has a significant presence and is frequently spinning off new ventures based around innovative technology they develop there. So there's a large community of innovation.
Boise is exploding right now, and so with that comes a lot of economic growth and development and opportunities, including in the funding area. We see folks come in on a regular basis that are interested in opportunities to either invest in companies or invest in the community and be a part of it. Of course, we're interested in helping clients, but our mission's bigger than that. Our mission is being part of the community and making the community a better place. Because if the community's a better place, then all boats rise. It's not just better for us, it's better for our clients. It's better for kids that are going to college and coming back and looking for jobs. We do this in furtherance of the bigger mission, which is making the community a better business environment and a better community for everyone.
Welcome back, Boise Entrepreneur Week. You're stuck with me again. I'm doing 2 sessions in a row this morning. I'll promise I'll take my foot off the gas here and not be on the next one, but don't hold me to that promise. I am joined right now by Rourke Eakley with Health Tech Idaho and Nadine Richmond, who's visiting us at Boise Entrepreneur Week. She's with Rapid AI, and I'm going to try to facilitate a conversation around a topic that, frankly, I don't know a whole lot about. And so to kick us off, guys, now that AI is in our pockets and end users like me use it to help me write emails or figure out, seating at a table for the dinner tonight, why don't you try to explain to folks like us what AI has done in the healthcare industry and what kind of end applications and use cases are there for it? Nadine, why don't you kick us off?
Great. AI is everywhere in healthcare. At Rapid AI, we do AI-supported clinical decision support for stroke, neurology, pulmonary embolism, aneurysm. So really interesting to be able to take AI, train it on imaging, CT scans, MRIs, and then through that AI, be able to say to an overworked radiologist or a neurosurgeon who's on call, right here, we think there may be a stroke of this variety.
So it plays sort of a supplemental function to the decision maker who's delivering the care. Now, are they literally sitting at their computer and the AI goes, look at this? Is that how it works?
They might not even be sitting at their computer. In the case of the neurosurgeon who is on call, a very busy person, they'll get it on their mobile device. And in fact, we'll show it on their mobile device. We'll send them a notification saying, we suspect this type of stroke. They will open it up, go directly into the image, be able to verify whether it is a stroke or not, and make a decision then and there whether they should treat it and how they should treat it.
What about I have so many questions, sorry, Rourke. I used to work with physicians in a previous life and pilots, and we always joke that surgeons and pilots have the biggest egos. If you put a product in front of them, they don't want to adopt it. How is that being received by surgeons? You know, here's another source of truth, if you will, pointing them to something they otherwise wouldn't have seen.
So there's a couple of things that we do that really speed along the process. Because what used to happen in stroke is that a patient would come to the emergency department with symptoms, and the ER doctor would order imaging. The patient would go get their CT, get their MRI. The radiologist would read it, write a report, send that back to the emergency doctor. The emergency doctor would read that, say, I think this is a stroke, I'm going to go call the neurosurgeon on call. What we do is short circuit that process. First of all, it always starts the same way, but then when the CT is happening, we immediately process that CT with our AI.
So you integrate it into the workflow of their decision making.
That's exactly it. So the first thing that we do is immediately grab that CT or that MRI, run it through our AI, and we skip the steps of the radiologist reading the report, the radiologist writing the report, sending it back to the emergency department. Instead, we flag that we believe that there's a stroke here and immediately send that notification to the neurosurgeon. So they're actually very happy about this because in stroke especially, time is brain. For certain types of stroke, the patient needs to get treated within 3 hours. So every second counts. Being able to short circuit that process and have a high quality report that says to the neurosurgeon, yes, we should do something here, is really important.
Rourke, I can't wait to get your input on this, because as a physician, as a technologist and innovator, how do you see AI currently being implemented in delivering care to people, and maybe also riff off of some of the workflow aspects that Nadine shared with us?
Yeah, so I am an emergency room physician, and so been in plenty of those cases where we have systems set up so that we can reduce the time of that patient from the time they get in the door to the diagnosis to the intervention. And depending upon the type of stroke, or if it is a stroke, whether it's a clot or a bleed, that's sort of the first decision point. Second is if there's a clot, where is it at? What's it amenable to? So all those decisions are made based on the stroke findings. And anything that would reduce those is a huge help for the clinician, so that I know I'm making the right decision, and also the patient, because time matters. So that all falls within clinical decision support, which is an exciting part of artificial intelligence. I've been working on that with different company startups since 2017, which isn't that long ago, but in the world of AI, it was a long time ago. And then there's also, really excited about clinical decision support with artificial intelligence. Obviously, there's some concerns with that too. A lot of ethical questions, and then a lot of questions of who's ultimately responsible for that decision, things like that, which we could spend a lot of time on, but I won't. And then there's, within healthcare, beyond the actual clinical decision support, there's a lot of inefficiencies in healthcare. And so that's very, very low-hanging fruit for artificial intelligence, to reduce that time spent outside of clinical medicine. You go to medical school, residency, training, not so that you sit in front of a screen and put data in or make decisions or field phone calls. So a lot of potential there. And then with that, that's the last thing I'll say. I was at a conference recently of CEOs, and there was a prominent CEO of a large health system, not in this valley. I'll protect people here. But he was asked about the operational efficiencies that artificial intelligence will bring. And his statement crushed me, because he said, well, this will mean I think our clinicians can see 2 more people a day based on that. And so that's the battle, that I do not want to go from seeing 22 patients a day to 24 patients a day because the artificial intelligence makes things more efficiently. That's still not enough time for the patient. And so we have to be really careful with our strides and achievements that we make. We need clinicians part of that decision.
I really appreciate this sense of caution that you bring up, and your sense of energy and implementation. How do we balance those two things? And I have to say, I am fairly surprised. I used to be in medtech device and aviation, highly regulated industries. I'm fairly surprised that AI has permeated one of the most highly regulated industries, healthcare, to the level that it has. in a good way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you would have asked me 15 years ago, I would have said healthcare is probably the last place that it would take foothold. And so how do we balance this cautionary, but also this excitement about the effect it can have on delivering health care to people?
I think the caution is the most important thing. It's healthcare. Healthcare obviously touches people's lives. So going into it with a sense of optimism and what can we achieve? How might we alleviate the burdens on our clinicians who are trying to help patients? How might we be able to speed them to the right decisions? How might we remove all of that administrative burden that happens, as well as being mindful of the problems that can come with that? Just speeding clinicians along so that they can see 5 more patients, that, I don't know if you heard, I whispered over here, oh no. That's such a terrible outcome because clinicians don't get enough time with patients. And this is what we're trying to do, is free up the clinicians' time so that they have the time to do the thing that they actually want to do. Because you're absolutely right, no clinician loves charting. Or at least I've not met one who does. I'd love to actually meet that person someday. No clinician loves charting. They don't love having to deal with the administrative aspects. No clinician loves prior authorizations. How can we get them to a point where they are confident in the results, where the technology is supporting them, not supplanting them?
With that in mind, I guess, so I understand that process workflows are going to get improved. Clinical decision making is going to be supplemented with more information, and the more information we have is great. Take us to the future. What cases of AI in healthcare are currently being developed, haven't been deployed, and what do physicians and AI implementers, what do you guys dream of in the future for AI in healthcare?
I can say a couple little things real quick.
Please
You're
do,
deep in the
yes.
trenches of implementation. I never want to be wrong, right? But I also don't want to do unnecessary tests, right? And so as an emergency room physician, or as an emergency medicine physician, I spent my career trying to strike that balance, okay? I remember I had a patient once that came in with a medical condition and refused to get the necessary studies because they had been in about 3 months prior and were in the middle of bankruptcy because of the bill for something else. And so as I got older, and did more, spent more time in my career, I became more aware of it. And then of course my own, family or myself, we're all patients, right? Experience too. So I really am looking forward to the ability to have more precise diagnoses, not having to cast such a wide net on tests. It could be something. So that excites me a lot on what down the road could be. You had mentioned about implementation of artificial intelligence. And I would love to hear what you have to say, but it has been a challenge because I have been working with companies since 2017, and we faced a lot of roadblocks that in other industries you wouldn't, which are good guardrails, but it's hard to strike that balance of overly cautious if you can be, even with just the data itself. And the potential of what artificial intelligence can do.
It's really cool to get the provider's perspective on what you just shared. When I take my kids, I go to the provider myself. My approach is test me for everything, so you can find that little thing. But it's really interesting to get your perspective on that. What do you think about the implementation side? Like Rourke just kind of teed you up for that.
Well, so I think you're absolutely right. Precision medicine especially has so much promise here of being able to help us get to the right diagnosis at the right time for the clinician and for their patient. That's something that I see some really interesting things coming in AI. To your point, though, working through the approvals process is time-consuming and challenging. And frankly, it's something that I think that we need to continue to work on with our partners in government to be able to ensure that our government agencies have the right expertise to be able to evaluate this in a timely manner and make sure that the guardrails are right for the industry. When you're doing a medical device, that's a different thing than software. And so being able to get both of those right, I think is an interesting balance that we're going to have to continue to work to continue to strike.
Kind of pulling on that thread, how is data being shared between providers, between systems? I'm imagining my utopian world of, there is x-rays of a particular condition, and there's a gazillion x-rays out there. Everybody shares them on this data bank. So this AI that you're training has just that much more data to refer to. And please tell me I'm wrong.
I'm very sorry to say that you're wrong, because hospitals rightfully guard that data. You know, that is obviously the most sensitive patient data that we can talk about. And so hospitals both are doing their due diligence in managing that data internally, but also, frankly, they recognize that that's a source of potential revenue for them, because training AIs requires high quality data. And so being able to get that high quality data from different systems is a challenge, is an expensive challenge for companies like mine today.
Interesting.
And as a clinician, if I'm going to trust a decision, I want to know where that data has come from, right? It's a black box right now, but I want to know, what is the population that I take care of the same as the population of that data lake or that data set, and then what are the steps that were taken within that AI model to get to that decision. So I know a clinician who is involved with medical legal stuff. They're an expert witness, and they're involved in an AI case, 2 cases, and they're both the clinician made opposite decisions, but both are now in court, and it was some AI related stuff. One used it, one didn't. Poor outcome in both. Different patients, different clinicians. So it just brings up the question, how trustworthy is that data? Because I do want to use it, but
that is such a great point about the data quality. I mean, it would be fantastic to have a public pool of data to be able to pull from. Since we don't have that, one of the things that AI companies must do is ensure that their data pool is representative, has a high quality across all sorts of different populations, based on socioeconomic status, based on ethno-racial identity, based on gender identity. We have to make sure that those are represented well in our data pool, because if we have a biased pool, we are not helping clinicians be able to make the right decisions. Because, of course, various medical conditions impact different populations differently. So having a biased data pool just means that the quality of the results that we give is much lower, which, of course, increases the cost of getting our data correct.
So currently this data is owned, I'm assuming, by the provider and or by the patient?
The provider is the provider, not the patient.
Not the patient.
Most often, though, it's actually with the EMR company. The EMR itself owns the data.
So
it's actually difficult to get your own data.
Presumably they would be positioned to train an AI model because they own all this data, or am I jumping?
I mean, I don't want to speak in detail, but that's some of the challenges working with companies, is obtaining that data, where it's from, especially in the US. Other countries, it has traditionally been a little bit easier just because of their structure and their system, their health system.
It's less
for the
privatized,
most part,
yeah.
It's public. So
I have so many more questions. I could keep going for another 15 minutes, but we're over time. Thank you guys so much for shedding some light, both for me personally and for our audience, on AI and its effect on healthcare and recent developments, and also giving me a little bit of a future outlook there. Thank you guys for joining me. That's the wrap for this BU Live session. Again, get your free ticket at boiseentrepreneur.org, download our app, create your own schedule, come see us here at Jump and join the festivities. And we will see a word from our sponsors before the next session.
It's very common for teams to segment out security as a discrete thing. So you build the software, and then you deploy the software, and then you add the security around the software. That is not a good pattern in the 21st century. The attackers are more sophisticated, They don't play, by the rules. They arguably never played by the rules, but the playing field itself was much less complicated even 5 years ago, certainly 10, 20 years ago. Today, security has to be part of a holistic process. You have to build secure software, and then you have to deploy it into a secure environment. And that takes on many forms, or it happens at many stages. The software itself has to be written without security flaws to the extent that you can. There's, obviously there's going to be bugs, there's going to be security flaws, but it needs to be thought about and planned for. The upstream dependencies of your software, all the open source packages you depend on, the commercial third-party packages that you depend on, you have to monitor the security of those things and make sure nobody can sneak in through a back door that's not even your fault because you trusted the wrong third party. And then you have to deploy it into a networked environment because all of our software is talking all the time to everyone these days on the internet. And you have to deploy it into a network environment that is secure. And that's where, what we used to think of as security, the firewalls and the network architectures and the moats and the bastion host and all of that stuff that used to be what we put in the bucket called security is now just one portion of it.
What would you do if you couldn't fail? Would you see every setback as a catalyst to keep going? This is the innovator's mindset, because innovation demands daring. It's finding thousands of ways that don't work, and the one that changes everything. Because we know changing the world doesn't happen by chance. It comes out of the blue.
Welcome everybody back to Boise Entrepreneur Week. My name is Diane Bevan and I'll be the host of this section. I'm the new CEO of the Idaho Technology Council, and joining me today is Dan DeClaus, the CTO and founder of PlexTrack, and Ed Vasco in a brand new CEO role as well. And we'll let you talk a little bit more about
I appreciate that.
And so let's actually just kind of start with you and just maybe introduce kind of the transition in the new space that you're in.
I appreciate that, Diane. Great seeing you. Great seeing you, Dan.
Yep, likewise.
I'm about a month into a new role with a publicly traded company called Highwire Networks. I run their managed security division as their CEO. And loving every minute of it. So we're looking to build out just kind of continue the work that we've done here in building up the ecosystem in Boise, and just be a key pillar and key community member. So looking forward to it, really.
Thank you so much. And Ed, we've of course, at the Idaho Tech Council, we've put you on our stages. We've heard a lot about your expertise in cyber. You worked in the nonprofit world, working for a university, and now in a new role. So as we kind of start a conversation about the trends that we're seeing in cyber, I've heard lots of stats from you on stages. Maybe expand a little bit more for our listeners as to kind of what we're seeing today and some of your vast knowledge in the cyberspace.
Wow, vast. It's just, as the old line goes, it's not the years, it's the miles.
Right,
but 33 years into this journey, I've seen a lot. Dan's seen a lot, and what I would say is I'll start off with the general message that one of the challenges that we have across the country is the fact that we have this constant recurring adversarial attack from various groups, nation states, onshore cyber hacktivists and onshore cyber adversaries, and they are just doing everything they possibly can to have impact on the nation. And along with that, it's like a perfect storm. We have this situation where we have workforce development issues. So supply is really low for workforce in cyber, demand is really, really high because of these types of attacks. And the reality is, if I sound alarmist, it's simply because we probably need to be. We're losing this cyber war that we've been engaged in for multiple decades, and the geopolitical space is not getting any better. Now, the great part, because there's always a silver lining, I'm a CEO, I have to have that silver lining, is that we are making strides year over year over year to really enhance the workforce, enhance technology. Great work by technology companies and founders like Dan are really trying to help bolster the nation, and doing so in the way that we know how to do it as a country. Small steps, small steps, small steps, innovate, innovate, innovate.
Yeah, I think that I remember once you gave a statistic that there are over 3,000 unfilled cyber jobs just in the state of Idaho.
That's correct.
So as we turn the conversation over to you, Dan, tell us a little bit more about PlexTrack. And we think about the fear factor of cyber, and maybe something that our viewers today could really grasp behind. We can't just hide under the covers and hope that the bad guys will go away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's if there's ever an adage where it's more appropriate, is like ignorance is not bliss in the world of cybersecurity. And attacks are only attacks are only continuing to get more sophisticated and less discriminate as well. We talk about ransomware, where anybody really is susceptible. Whether you're a small business on the corner of Main Street, or a big business that's publicly traded around the world. So that's why we can't just ignore the challenges that we have. And so PlexTrack, I come from what I would say is the more proactive security space, and so trying to identify the gaps and the problems through ethical hacking, penetration testing, security assessment, and that was really what spawned the impetus for PlexTrack. Is one, recognizing that there's a challenge in terms of talent, because not only do we have a shortage of talent, but it's still not easy work. Like it takes skill, and so being able to find the right people to be able to move quickly in these jobs is part of that problem. And so the more that we can make the skilled and talented people automate the things that they can focus on, in an automation perspective, it gives them more time to free up to do the actual work that actually matters. And that really is PlexTrack's mission. Our mission statement truly is, we help teams win the right cybersecurity battles. It's an ongoing war. How do they identify what are the most important things they should be working on today? How can we help them automate as much of those tasks as possible? Again, we stay in the proactive side, so helping them with identifying gaps before the bad thing happens, right? We're privileged to be a part of the community, and especially love Boise Entrepreneur Week. But that really is our mission: is to help companies at large identify those gaps before something bad happens, and how can we help automate as much as possible in the workforce.
So Dan, I know that you and I visited, in your office a little bit more about your journey with PlexTrack and founding the company. So you talk about staying ahead of the curve, and the amount of knowing what's happening before it happens is really an excellent space to be in for companies that don't have the time or the bandwidth or probably the knowledge or expertise to do what you do. And so maybe expand a little bit more on why that compliance piece is so important to stay ahead of something. It's like we always kind of think about, preventative medicine, and
right.
Sometimes people don't start exercising until they've been diagnosed. And so sometimes it's like, especially with cyber, it can happen so quickly.
Right.
So what advice would you give a startup, either in tech or any company? Like, what are some of those first steps that they should do or could do to stay ahead of the curve that you speak of?
Yeah, I mean, and this has been a mantra for a long time for us, is like, hey, just start somewhere, right? It's kind of like, if you got to go lose 30 pounds, like, exercising today is going to help start that.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much, right? Like, but start somewhere. So like when we talk about proactive exercises within the cyberspace is do something, and start small. There's lots of resources out there today to be able to help start doing security assessments. And those can be a variety of things, whether those are vulnerability assessments, vulnerability scans. There's free vuln scanners out there. There's lots of resources, but also utilizing some of the more emerging threats. We're in a world where threat intelligence hadn't had a way to be spread very easily, and so it was kind of, you had to kind of know people when things were happening, and it was kind of hard to share that information. And then how do you take action on it? Most of the time, threat intelligence is taking action on from a defensive perspective, which is still very, very valid. How do we identify if this activity is happening in our environment? But also, how can we take that threat intelligence and take it on the proactive side of, like, how can we actually go execute a test to see if that would happen in our environment? So small things like that, there's lots of resources. MITRE, the MITRE attack matrix is a great place to kind of marry some of that threat intelligence with the defensive, or with the proactive testing techniques. But that would be my advice: is start somewhere and start small. Like, don't feel overwhelmed, but you got to start.
Yeah, I'd jump right on in and say, yeah, especially at the small business level. It's like good behavior starts small and builds over time. And like any small business, the number of free resources, and community resources that are out there to build upon what Dan said is, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. CISA.gov has just a wide number of different, feedback, guidance documents, tools, and they're all freely available. And there are so many other areas of resources for business owners of all sizes. But, my encouragement here with Boise Entrepreneur Week is start small, recognize that within your business, just as you have a really strong, finance and accountant, you have a lawyer, If somebody that helps guide and advise you from a business perspective, don't hesitate to find that person from a cyber perspective that also understands this space and maybe can help provide some guidance and direction around what you should do as a business owner to really ensure that your business stays thriving and surviving in this space, especially if you have any sort of technology, which of course everybody does.
Technology touches everything.
Everything.
We think about, we're going to see SBA here this week at Boise Entrepreneur Week, and we have seen a lot of our resource partners really include that now as part of that menu of things that as a new business owner you should have when you start formulating your business plan. When I was a business coach with the Women's Business Center, I used to tell a client, you don't need to be a CPA, but you have a due diligence to know your numbers.
That's right.
Right? You don't necessarily have to be an expert in cyber,
right,
but you have to at least do your own due diligence of realizing that there is no completely safe space anymore. And so coming to that realization that yes, my information at some point is going to make it to the dark web.
Right.
And when that happens, I know there's a lot of fear around it. So how can we, and we have a few minutes to wrap up, so I want to start with you, Dan, and then Ed, I want to hear from you. How can we be more comfortable with the topic of cyber? What are some of those things that we just need to be aware of, that it's kind of the new normal,
sure,
right?
Yeah, I mean, just like physical security is an expectation amongst any kind of company's facilities or data centers, cybersecurity is an expectation these days, and any company that, especially if you're a startup and you're going to start doing any kind of work, especially on the tech side with other tech companies or just industry in general, they're going to ask you for general security controls that you have in place. And so I think it's important to be very aware that that is a very critical piece of how you can grow your business. And then I would also recommend, similar to how we might go to a lawyer or to a CPA to get expertise and advice on things like that, go to partners that do the cybersecurity tech work, and they can do that on your behalf, like an MSP or an MSSP, where you can really have a partner that can help you answer those questions as well, especially in the early stages, because you're likely not going to have the budget and resources to hire somebody internally to do that work, right? So
yeah, I mean, I love the metaphor, and the physical security metaphor. I mean, the reality is that we are in a societal space that you have to have locks on your doors and alarms and so forth, and I think that metaphor translates very nicely into cyberspace. Ensuring that you've got and I typically use a mnemonic to help small business owners understand kind of the best ways to address risk, and it comes down to people, having your people be aware of not clicking on a link to the cat video in email, being aware of those things and taking a second step and maybe asking somebody. So people is the first part of the mnemonic. Passwords, so not using the same password across a bunch of different sites, changing your passwords, having extended passwords, using a password manager, using multi-factor authentication. Those are elements and areas of attack that adversaries are using very actively right now. So people, passwords, and then the final P of the mnemonic, people, passwords, patching. Make certain that your systems are up to date. Ensure that you've got a recurring patching process going on. If you do those three things and you do them well on a consistent basis, you're going to be better suited against those adversaries, better suited against those kinds of threats. So just remember those three Ps: people, passwords, patches, and
Excellent.
You'll help yourself a lot.
Such great advice. We are so excited to have been here. Be actively engaged in your own cyber wellness, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
There's the high road and the low road. And if you're a lawyer at Holly Troxel, you better take the high road.
We have 24 practice groups with 75 lawyers.
The number of people and the breadth of practice allows us to be a full-service law firm to meet clients' needs.
The client's gain in hiring Holly Troxel is a deep understanding of the law, a deep understanding of the process and the players.
We like being the person that they pick up the phone and we're the first person they think to call.
Hello, my name is Tom Keeley, and I am the Director of the Idaho Department of Commerce. Nurturing and evolving an innovative idea takes passion, expertise, and funding. iGEM can help. iGEM, or the Idaho Global Entrepreneurial Mission, is a grant program dedicated to funding new ideas, innovations, concepts, processes, and products. iGEM funds commercialization research projects where a business partners with an Idaho University research team to advance innovative products and services to market from Idaho. This dual investment helps Idaho businesses create new products, new ventures, and high-value jobs, while simultaneously increasing the research capacity and the caliber of Idaho's 3 public research universities: Boise State University, Idaho State University, and the University of Idaho. By utilizing the iGEM grant program and partnering with an Idaho Research University, iGEM can help reduce your business's R&D expenses and get your new product to market faster. For more information on the iGEM program, please visit igem.idaho.gov or contact Carmen Archibald at carmen.archibald@commerce.idaho.gov.
Teleo is a Greek word that means to perform or execute. In 2018, Teleo's founding partners came together at a local pizza joint in Los Angeles and hatched an idea that led to the formation of a private equity firm focused on special situations and corporate carve-outs within the lower middle market. The vision was to build a great company that focuses on empowering people to perform and execute. With the founding partners' long-standing experience in private equity and backgrounds in athletics, they began building a firm culture centered around teamwork, integrity, a sense of humor, and being dangerously unselfish. That's why the Teleo team has been successful at executing corporate carve-outs, recapitalizing broken balance sheets, acquiring founder-owned companies, and implementing buy and build strategies for its portfolio companies. With offices in Boise, Idaho and Los Angeles, California, Teleo uses its operational resources and capital base to empower management to perform and execute on their business plans and growth strategies. And now that small idea hatched at a pizza joint has now grown into a thriving company.
And Darren. I'll let them introduce themselves here in just a minute, but we're back at Boise Entrepreneur Week. Happy to be here, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about recruiting and how to recruit as a startup, and maybe a little bit about how that differentiates from recruiting as a larger entity, and hopefully answer some of your pressing talent questions. But first, I'll let Allison take it away, introduce herself and her company.
Yeah, I'm Allison Bruce. I am the owner at Talent Spark. We are a local Boise recruiting firm. I think you're about to hear that 3 times over, yep. But yep. It's great because all of us work with a lot of different companies throughout this region and within Boise. So we specialize in a lot of corporate recruiting, and professional type recruiting is kind of our main area that we work in.
Awesome. I'm Darren Kuntz, founder and CEO of Mavic Ventures. We're a recruiting firm from Boise. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've mainly specialized in like the startup tech world, kind of hiring across all those. We partner with a lot of companies to really like embed recruiters within their teams. We do the contingent deal and everything else. But obviously, I have a pretty strong pulse around the Boise market, and then pretty much nationally. I mean, we had a lot of San Francisco, Austin, New York, obviously, and now that's just kind of split everywhere in the U.S., so we're kind of all over the place.
Awesome. And basically ditto to both Allison and Darren. I own Route Networking Group, based here in Boise. We do a lot of recruiting across the inland Northwest. And honestly, I think it's a great testament to the community here. You have 3 founders in the same industry that are able to get together and talk the same subject. And I think we each bring a great and unique perspective. So happy to dive in. Maybe one of the questions I think we get a lot is, hey, I'm a startup, I don't have a budget, or I don't have much of a budget, and I'm trying to compete for talent against somebody like Simplot or Micron. How do I do it? So Allison, maybe you can start kicking us off. And
yeah, I would say one thing that is neat about being on this panel together is I think that I'll answer the question, but one thing I just want to say about like the startup community is I think there's a real culture of like abundance and not scarcity, and I think that allows like the three of us to sit up here together, that it's not, oh, there's not enough out there, there's not there, it's not that. There's really a collaboration and an abundance mindset, and I think it really changes, coming from other markets. I think that's a unique part of the Boise entrepreneur, culture in that. And so it's fun to talk about these things because we are all three of us are recruiters and business owners, so we sit on both sides of that. I would say the biggest thing that I think about both as the advice that I would give and as an owner is to make things as customized and personalized as you possibly can, and that is a big differentiator over the large companies who might have 10 to 50 recruiters and they have to automate things and they have to move quickly, and there's just not a way for them to personalize or customize their hiring experience towards that individual, towards that role, and they have to do everything the same because they have to have consistency. If you're a small business, you can be agile and creative and take people to lunch, take people to coffee. You can post things more creatively, that are out there. You can have a unique brand. I always say that your employment brand is really important as a startup. You want to have your brand of whatever you're selling or whatever your company does, but you should also have an employment brand. And having that side of your branding and your marketing is important just as much as like raising money and what you do. Like, what is it like to work there? What kind of culture do you have? And those are things that will make you stand out, in there. And I think just to me, it's just all about sort of being agile and personalize everything.
Sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think it's kind of to touch on what you were saying is it's important to they got to play to their strengths, right? Small startup company or, business in general to a larger company, like the things that you can offer, those larger companies can't. The things that larger companies are going to offer, you can't. And you shouldn't have to. You don't want to.
Yep.
Kind of being able to touch on like the agility and stuff like that. I think it's, especially when you're like looking to hire, it's to me, it's important. Like you got to kind of start from the basics of like, really identify like what is the skill set we need to acquire in this hire? Like what are we looking for? Like what value out of this? What impact are they gonna make on the business? And really like clearly define that with yourself up front so you know what you're looking for. And when you start interviewing people, kind of what you're evaluating and who's gonna be the right fit. Because it's real easy when you start talking to people, everyone's great, right? You're like, I love them all, who do I go with?
Yeah.
And being able to really go back to like, well, this is what we needed to hire for. This is the problems that we need solved here. And these are the people that are gonna be the best fit. And then I think from there, like you said, it's the branding and really making sure that you're taking the time to, really sell kind of like the high-res vision of what you're doing and what you're looking to do. Because that's what it is. The larger company can rest on, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and we can show you that because our name backs that up. You've seen us, you've heard about us. And for the smaller businesses, it's about, this is what we're looking to do. Like we're looking to disrupt this or attack this market or, this is kind of like where I see us going, and really being able to like touch on those things because that's what's going to sell people too, that just crazy, wild and wonderful world of a startup or small business.
Yeah. I think it's also, you got to be honest up front with those candidates early on about what you're able to offer, right? Like, if like, hey, I'm recruiting for an IT systems engineer and I can't afford to pay, 50% of the median salary, whatever it is, be upfront with those candidates and know what you can offer, right? Whether it's flexibility, whether it's, RSUs, whether it's, whatever it is that you're going to offer, but have those conversations early and often throughout your interview process, because otherwise you're going to end up towards the end and in an offer negotiation that's going to be painful for everyone. So I think that's, another thing that just comes to mind from like a very tactical sort of point of view is just, be upfront. The other thing that I think of too when it comes to sort of like how you recruit as a small business versus a larger entity is that I think oftentimes we think in terms of black and white. And I will never forget, even for me personally, when I was first starting Route, I had a mentor that, I came to and I was like, gosh, I need to hire, but I can't afford to because it's just too much to put on another base salary and it's, hard. And, he asked me, it was actually Rhino Zoller, if you guys are all familiar with Rhino, and he's brilliant. And he was like, well, why are you thinking in terms of these paradigms? Like, it's not one way or the other. Where's the gray area? Could you hire a consultant? Could you hire a new mom on 1099, have her come in for a couple hours a week? Could you,
hire an intern. And I think, when you're a startup, we all know you got to be scrappy,
Yep.
right? But I think that's another way of thinking about talent a little bit differently than, especially if you came from like a big entity and you're always used to thinking in like, oh, I have to hire another FTE, or I've got to hire, whomever.
Yeah.
Think of it less of like, okay, this is black or white, and think of it more in like a creative, flexible sense.
I think that's helpful. One thing that always that I find sometimes with working with smaller business is they've read a lot of these business books, and I think some of these business books are helpful, but they're also geared towards larger companies with the hiring, and you hear a lot of some version of like hire the A player.
Yes.
And I think you got to rethink of like what that is. If you can't offer, top 10% comp and top 10% benefits and all of these things, you may not be getting that person from that like pedigree in the Ivy League or whatever that is that was defined in that book as like the A player. And I'm like, but what you need is someone that's like gritty and can get it done. And if you can have someone that's can work while their kid naps but helps you to grow your business, like who's not to say that that's not the A player that your business needs and what you can do. And I think you've got to redefine sort of what that A player looks like, of just like getting the work done and like what the culture fit is. And when you've got small teams, you've really got to you've got to watch what your culture is, but then you also don't want to send it too far. When you were talking about like I like everyone, sometimes it's hard because I think especially as recruiters where I'm like, you have to look past like, would I want to have lunch or have a beer with this person? And sometimes the answer is yes, and you get clouded by that, and then you actually have to go back to your criteria of like, what was it that I was trying to accomplish?
Yeah, and I think like what you're saying too is it's the like you focus on hiring for potential, because like that's where you're really gonna like that's gonna fall into the budget, that's gonna fall into the scrappiness and those things, and looking at like you're gonna get 70-80% of what you're looking for, right? And like that is where you should seriously consider evaluating, should I hire this person or not? Like there's no purple spotted unicorn out there like everyone says, or this, you don't have the luxury of time or money or any of that to find that person, right? And so I think it's really about hiring to potential at all times, like understand what you're looking for and finding someone that's like even if they're not all the way there, but you see like the drive and the hunger and all those things, like you can teach a lot of things. And I feel like a lot of companies get caught up in the like, well, I just need to hire someone that can come in and do the job. Like there's always going to be a ramp up for someone to join a new company. Your company's going to be different than the company they came from. You don't want someone just to rest on what they did somewhere else. You want to be able to see that as like a signal to them being successful in this role, but also towards like what's their drive and hunger to continue expanding past that and add to that skill set. And so I think like hiring to the potential, someone that you see having the potential is great for startups or small businesses, just because that's going to kind of give you all those other things you're looking for. But then also just that understanding of those people typically are going to come with less entitlements too, right? Where it's like, well, I did this before, so this is what I should get here and stuff like that. And so that's what I've seen be most successful.
Career, I want a particular career path that looks like senior manager, VP, and you may not have that, but you want that person that is much more about just adding value to your organization and isn't necessarily like, I want an 18-month career ladder.
Yeah, and when I feel like as the business owner too, like you need to be prepared. Like hiring is a big responsibility you're taking on, and I feel like a lot of people don't like kind of take that for granted. Like, where it's, you're telling someone to leave a job or not take another job that's going to pay money because there's a better promise at your company. And it's not like you just hire someone and just like, well, come here and do the job. Like, it's a big responsibility to make sure that person produces. Like, they're usually probably paying for their, their livelihoods. Maybe they have families, things like that. Like a lot of other responsibilities. And so, it's something that you can't take that for granted, and also understand that like you need to come and put this person and have a system set up for them to be successful. I feel like you see that with a lot of smaller businesses or just business owners in general, where they're like, well, great, you had that experience. You should just be able to come in here and do it. Like, what do you need from me? And it's like, you're never going to be successful as a business owner, because like you should be able to get someone that is 60-70% of what you need, and then you can level them up the rest to kind of get them to that potential.
Right. Yeah, that's great. In the last couple minutes that we have, would love maybe some perspective on, so we've talked a little bit about like best practices. Yeah. Any pitfalls that you guys would throw out there? I certainly have a few in mind. Things that you commonly see, especially within like a smaller or startup scaling companies.
I think the one for me, because you just said it and it clicked. In there is that we see a lot of that like purple unicorn type thing, and we call those the Frankenstein roles in small business, where you're like, I want someone who does like payroll and HR, and accounting and sales, and you're like, well, that's not Like someone's not
EA.
extroverted and detail oriented and doesn't know law, like find, like maybe you want 2 part-time people where the skill sets match, like trying to get this like, well, we have to wear a lot of hats, but you might have like such different parts of it. So just, we call that like, just be careful of the Frankenstein or the purple unicorn. You often create the purple unicorn.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say where we see a lot is, I mean, you could probably loop it up and say like not a well-defined like process in that way, but like if you need to hire, like obviously like I was talking about earlier, like really understanding and defining what you need, but then being ready to go find that person to pull the trigger. Because you know, if you just start reaching out to some people, then it takes you a few weeks to get back to them when they respond to you, and then you talk to them, then it's a few weeks in between that, and I don't really have an answer for them yet, so I'll wait to get back to them. Like, you're gonna hurt your chances with everyone. You can ruin your reputation in the market. So it's just be upfront and honest. If you're not sure if that's the right person or you're ready to make a decision, tell them, hey, you know, it's an important role. You know, I still want to evaluate some other people. You know, feel like you could be a really good fit, but like I'm gonna need a few weeks to get back to you, and like keep that communication open, because these people aren't just sitting here waiting for you to tell them if they have a job or not. You know, they're either going to become less interested, you're going to lose motivation, or they're going to get other offers and not be on the market anymore.
My team knows very well. I have a saying around my office, and it's time kills all deals. And yes, it is so true. If you're in sales, it's very true, but it's certainly true in recruiting.
Time kills all deals, and ABC, always be close.
That's right, exactly.
Always be recruiting.
Exactly.
Well, and you talk so much about like that transparency piece, and it's the same in that. You know, it's like just be honest. You know, it's like
exactly.
Honest, these are humans. Then
treat people like humans.
Exactly. It helps. Well, we are wrapping up. Thank you both so much for joining me today, and I think it's been a great conversation. There's lots to be said about talent and recruiting. If you're watching this and want to know more about how to recruit for your small business, scaling business, startup business, what have you, please look us up. Allison with Talent Spark, Darren with Mavic Ventures, Jessica with Route Networking Group. It's been a pleasure. I know all of us are going to be at the Peak 43 event tonight, so looking forward to that. And yeah, anything else that you'd like? Can't miss.
The pitch competition is always good. Pop in and see some of those. I like the investor meetings. I think those are Thursdays. Those are always cool and interesting for small business owners to kind of get a good idea of what that world looks like.
Exactly. Yeah, love it.
I love all those panels. I don't know. I love panels. I just love. I love people bouncing off each other and you know, getting that. So I love going to any of those.
Exactly.
Jessica, thank you for being our fearless leader.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's a big job.
Cheers.
Cheers.
150 plus years of strength and stability. The oldest financial institution headquartered in the Intermountain West. Zions Bank today has grown to operate 121 full-service branches and nearly 200 ATMs throughout Utah, Idaho, and Jackson, Wyoming. Zions Bank's publicly traded parent company is Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., with nearly $90 billion in assets. The company operates under distinct local brands with nearly 420 branches across 11 western states. With a wide range of traditional banking services and innovative technology solutions, Zions is the bank for individuals, families, businesses, nonprofits, and corporations. As a market leader in U.S. small business administration lending, Zions Bank supports small businesses as they create jobs and fuel our economy. Companies of all sizes benefit from local decision-making, a relationship banking approach to commercial and real estate lending, and award-winning treasury management solutions. Our community roots run deep, supporting hundreds of nonprofit organizations. Employees donate tens of thousands of hours in community service each year, teaching financial literacy to students and community groups, rolling up their sleeves during the annual Paint-a-thon service project, benefiting older adults and veteran homeowners. Zions Bank cultivates a landscape of opportunity, from main streets to neighborhood lanes, making clients stronger through our services and expertise, and building our communities along the way. Bolstered by a legacy of strength and stability, Zions Bank is well positioned for a bright future of progress and service for decades to come. For a local bank committed to your success for generations past, present, and future, now more than ever, Zions Bank is for you.
Hello and welcome back to Boise Entrepreneurs Week. I'm Matt Maskey with In Time Tech. At In Time Tech, I'm the Executive Vice President and GM of Product. And here today with me is Michael Blood. Hi Michael, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm Michael Blood with Matrix. We build web and mobile apps, much like your company, but at totally different scales.
Yeah, and I'm with In Time Tech. We are primarily a software development company focusing on software services, but we do have a product arm as well. That's the group that I lead. And yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about scaling. You know, we talked about scale just a second ago, and I think we're here today to talk about how to scale a tech product and kind of what that looks like, what some of the pitfalls and challenges might be. And Michael, you were sharing earlier that your company helps others do that. Can you share a little bit about some of your experiences in that space?
Sure, I was starting to tell you, but I'll describe again. Our company is an agency, which means we build the software for other people. It's not typically our software. And so we're always building what our clients need. And typically they're startup ideas, ideas that haven't necessarily found product market fit. They're searching for it. So a lot of times the products may not get to scale, but the idea is always to build it in a way that when it does finally get product market fit, it can scale. So I think our size of company, again, there's only 6 people there, is typically looking for, we're looking for how to find the product that can scale more than actually scaling it.
Got it. Yeah, and I think, you know, from our perspective, from In Time Tech's perspective, obviously we're doing some similar things. We're helping companies with scaling whatever they do, you know, whether it's, you know, resources they don't have or maybe some capabilities they don't have. But in our product group, which I'm leading right now, we actually have some products that we've started to scale, and we've definitely learned some lessons through that. Yeah. You know, you mentioned product market fit just a minute ago. I think our approach so far has really been for our own products, particularly, that when we're looking for product market fit, we're really focused on the idea and the customer. And while we're trying to kind of do the right things as we go, we know there's going to be work left if that works out, if you understand what I mean. You know, we don't want to spend too many resources or too much time necessarily trying to kind of build out kind of all the ecosystem and infrastructure around the product, and really kind of focused on the core idea and just making sure that that idea is solid before we invest more money, time, and effort to kind of round the product out. And so, you know, we've learned a lot of lessons over the years. And, you know, right now I'm working with a particular product that we have in the cattle feedlot space. And, you know, we've been working on it for a couple of years. We're in 7 different feedlots kind of in the Northwest region. About 50,000 head of cattle under management with that product right now, and we think we're really ready to go to the broader market. Come to find out, and we knew some of this as well, right? Some of this is very intentional, that there's a bunch of things that we still have to do. And actually, I'm going to speak about that a little bit more this afternoon at 2 o'clock in the jump room, kind of on that topic. But you could imagine everything from, you've got the product, but what about security? Did you go through all the things you needed to do? User management, settings, monetization, payment, just documentation, support, training, on and on and on. Because our experience has really been that in the beginning, we really kind of handhold customers. We work with them really closely, but we know in the long run that's just not going to scale out in a broad way.
What platforms do you use? I'm just always curious about that. Any time when you scale, do you use your own internal platforms?
We've typically kind of focused on using some of the more common cloud platforms. We've built things on top of Azure and AWS. That tends to be the place that we play right now. We've really gotten away from kind of anything custom, and we've also started to use in some cases as well Microsoft's Power Platform.
Okay.
For just kind of speed of development and sort of getting ongoing support and maintenance sort of built in for kind of the core part of the platform. Really, for a lot of our products have moved away from what I would call like full stack development, if you will.
Mm-hmm. To speak to a little bit of that, we long ago, before AWS was around, we had our own internal data centers, and that really limited the ability to just scale, because you had to make a decision on whether or not buying a new server was the way to scale or not. And as soon as AWS came around, we started using our data center for prototyping, mm-hmm. and then we'd launch into AWS or to Google Cloud. Mm-hmm. Haven't really enjoyed Azure very much when testing it, so we just haven't ever found a use for that.
Sure.
But anymore, we just build it straight in a platform like AWS, because it's so much faster to get it to scale.
Absolutely.
It used to be that hey, we didn't want to go through the expense because we've already got it built into the cost sunk in our data center, mm-hmm. and so we build it there. But it's just much faster to build it in AWS and then scale it.
And you bring up such a great point too. I think we're probably of a similar age, and we remember when scaling literally meant buying more computing power, right? Like buying physical computers and putting them together and racking them up and doing all this work.
Back when you used to have to build them, actually decide, well, I don't know, is 128 gigs worth it?
Yeah, totally. And it's such a different world now, especially as we're talking in this kind of startup entrepreneurial space. The ability for a small group of people to build something that scales really broadly for a really reasonable amount of money now that kind of compute has been democratized in a sense, it's totally different. It's totally different than years ago. I mean, we look at it, it's almost funny to me at times when we look at how many different environments we have up and down, UAT and beta and production and dev and all these different things. Back in the day, I mean, you needed actually physical computing power right with you to do this stuff. Nowadays, you don't even know where it is really. It's fantastic and such an enabler for, I would say, the entrepreneurial community, but really, I think just about everybody now is in that space.
Yeah, you almost have to. I almost have to avoid saying something that's like, "Oh, back in my day," because it was very different.
Very different.
You definitely didn't have to. You didn't even think about what number of racks you're eventually going to have, and now you can you click a button and then turn it back off.
That's exactly, yeah, the on-off sort of switch for all of these things, and built on top of that too. You were mentioning cloud platforms earlier. All the services that you're getting, all the security that you're getting. I mean, you're getting a lot from these platforms. That there was a kind of a day and time when really it was always kind of rolling your own everything, right? And now it's suddenly there's all these services available, all the scale available to you. I think it's really, particularly like in our world, in the software world anyway, it's really opened up a whole world of possibilities for these companies that have a great idea, have really tested product market fit, and then want to bring it to scale. Their ability to do that without huge amounts of money or huge amounts of investment as compared to before is just totally different.
Yeah, it's interesting that it used to be when somebody would come with an idea and they'd say, oh, well, I need to be able to do this for 100,000 people. You used to actually have to ask, like, okay, how big do you want it? Because we have to build all of that. We have to think about that in the architecture and everything early on in the process, and we have to invest for that. And now you can almost just start right into it and just trust that it's going to be easy to scale if you just start on a platform that can scale.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean,
it's a very, very different now.
It's very, very different now. I totally agree. And then, we were talking earlier too about just the way to approach the work. We were sharing earlier that we both work with some of our development staff is not onshore, for instance, or at least has been.
Yeah.
The ability to scale your company that way as well for a different kind of cost. I mean, that's so much more readily available now too. I mean, offering services that allow people to pick up development talent that maybe they can't find here, it's hard to find here, or capabilities they don't have, again, for a much more reasonable cost. And with, the collaboration tools that are available today, the way you work with these cloud platforms, it's so much easier now to do that work. It's, again, just kind of a game changer. I think back to, starting in this industry 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, and it's almost nothing's the same, really, honestly, from the languages that are used to the way software is used and deployed to the devices it's deployed on, how it's built, how it's managed, whole new world.
Yeah, actually, you bring up kind of the HR side of things with scaling. So scaling the tech platform, the cloud, using a cloud platform, very easy. But the HR side of things, your company's been able to scale that with people out in the, offshore. And I haven't. I actually don't scale. We're all in-house here in Boise. I did have an offshore thing. It was all passion projects only, like I was saying. But
sure.
That brings up a totally different level. Like we don't have the ability to just grow the consulting side of things, and we kind of constrain our projects, and would love to be able to just grow as fast as possible, as fast as a technology platform, but can't because of hiring. And you have found a way to do that a lot more successfully. I watched that from afar.
Sure. Well,
and I'm impressed with that.
Yeah. And the good news, Michael, is I know a guy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're wrapping up here. I think we're just about out of time. But again, want to thank the audience and come and join us here at Boise Entrepreneur Week. It's going to be a fantastic week. Lots of speakers, lots of events. Come join us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in seeing some of the storytelling things. I don't know if that's what, I just wanted to say that that's one of the things I'd be excited about.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Welcome to Trailhead Boise. We're located in the heart of downtown Boise. My name is Jacob. I'm our Director of Operations. Let me show you our co-working space. Our co-working memberships are designed to be affordable and accessible to any price point, and we offer two main types of memberships. What you're seeing behind me is our hot desk membership. This is your standard co-working setup. All of our desks are seat stand adjustable. They come with a monitor and an HDMI hookup. You come in, you find an open desk, and you get to work. If you're looking for a little bit more of a dedicated experience in a co-working space, we offer a dedicated desk membership. This provides you 24/7 access to Trailhead, a desk that's reserved for your exclusive use, and the ability to leave equipment, decorate the desk how you please, make it your own. Both of these membership levels come with access to reserve our meeting rooms. We've got a private meeting room, which is great for confidential calls, 2 group meeting rooms, which are conference style, great for collaboration, and then we've got 2 phone booths, which are great for quick calls on the go. Co-working is really just the beginning. We have a full suite of programs like Boise Pitch Night, You Lead Idaho, Boise Entrepreneur Week, Ideas at Go, and many more, which you can find on our website, tailored to help you at any step of your entrepreneurial journey. Whether you're at the very first stages, trying to take an idea from a napkin and turn it into a business, or you're pitching for your first investments, all the way to raising your Series A rounds. We have a full suite of tailored programs to help you learn the skills you need to be successful and connect you to the people in our resources who can help take your business to the next level. So whether you're an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business, or a remote worker looking to switch up the home office and find community, we're probably a great fit for you. Check us out next time you're in downtown Boise.
And we think about it all the time. The work that we do is really important and it's meaningful and it's valuable. For example, somewhere today in the US or somewhere else in the world, there's a person and a family getting an early diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And they might get that diagnosis years before what was previously possible, which gives them time to either find some type of intervention they can put in place, slow the process, or at least plan for what is to come. That is possible not only because of the great work of neuroscientists and others who developed these diagnostics, but also because of the important work that was done by vinyl engineers and designers to turn that into something digital that can be scored perfectly every single time.
I always tell people I sleep pretty darn good at night because more than one of our projects help doctors and patients connect in a more interesting way, help people take control of their finances. I mean, we constantly are touching projects that at the end of the day make actual people's lives better.
I feel really good about the work that Vinyl does. This work will continue to help people, and that's the kind of thing that it's nice to be able to say that you work for a company that does good things as well as big things.
Hi Boise Entrepreneur Week, and welcome back to another edition of Boise Entrepreneur Week Live. I'm Nick Krabs, I'm a partner at Vinyl and the chair emeritus of Boise Entrepreneur Week, and I'm really excited to do another one of these sessions. I think they're so much fun. It's a great way to meet people and have interesting conversations about what's going on here with startups, with fundraising. It's really such a great opportunity to have a cool chat. So I'm excited to be joined by Joel Camacho, who's recently moved to Boise, Idaho. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Joe Camacho. I am the founder and CEO of PCMX, which is dubbed as Pretty Cool Mexican. And that essentially is my consulting company where I help founders here in Boise either take their idea and create a business around it or get them ready to raise capital from angels, family offices, or venture capital funds.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and we have such a vibrant startup community here, but it's still very young. I mean, a lot of first-time founders, a lot of folks really kind of taking their first up at bat, trying to be a startup founder. And so I think it's a really wonderful time to be in Boise, but people like yourself coming in and offering support to startups, I think is really wonderful. With that in mind, and given that we have, kind of a firework event going on at BEW this year, every year, which is our pitch competition, which if you haven't been to it, it's a really great opportunity to see who's up and coming. Every year we award $50,000 to early stage entrepreneurs pitching. It's on Thursday night. It's followed by a block party. You should definitely come down and check it out. Now that's prize money that they get. It's non-dilutive capital.
Beautiful.
But for founders that are raising, I thought given your experience and given your background, what do you think about what's going on right now in the VC world and what's going on in the fundraising world? It's kind of an interesting place right now.
Yeah. Well, I think at the very core, right, say things get a little tough out there, the economy is not necessarily doing that great. What people do, just human nature, is they're going to focus more, they're going to think twice or 3 times or 4 times before they make a decision. So when they say a VC is thinking about making an investment, or an angel or a family office, an investor, they're going to want to see more. They're going to want to build more trust before they make any decision. So, the times where you can go with a pitch deck, an idea, and your background is just not enough.
Yeah.
Like they want to see you actually out there doing what you're saying, what you're pitching in your presentation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it really seems like a lot of these VCs are kind of holding back some of their dry powder. They're not making investments.
Yeah.
I still see, worthy startups filling out their early stage rounds, but they're holding back some of this dry powder, and maybe they think that there's a little bit more value in the streets, in a couple months. Maybe they're just looking for more capital efficient companies or companies a little further along. So if you're the startup founder, again, I'm assuming that our pitchers on Thursday are watching this and trying to figure out what's next after they win that check. What should you be, when's the right time to start going and approaching early stage capital? What kind of metrics should you be thinking about featuring in your deck as you're doing it? I think, it is a little different right now. And so there's kind of different key points that I think firms are looking for.
Yeah.
And so what are you seeing that they should be focusing on?
Great question. So I would advise you, or not advise, this is not financial advice. I would go out about 6 months before I actually need the money and start just having conversations with the investment community.
Mm-hmm.
I will not wait until I'm actually talking to an actual investor to start pitching my idea, but I'll start with family and friends. I'll go to street fairs. I'll go to like these, Boise has a lot of street fairs or a lot of like markets. Go and start practicing the pitch, because once you get to the point where you're actually having a proper conversation with an investor, you only get one shot. Right? Because at that point, they're making decisions like, can I trust this person? Can I trust they're going to deliver? Can I trust that they can go out and raise more money? So that first interaction becomes really important. Don't let that be the first time you're actually pitching your company.
Yeah.
On the second part of the question, I would say, don't think that you have to go and grab or raise $1 million before you can start your company.
Right.
Think about what is the fastest proof of concept that I can build and go out there and start testing with the market, and go do that. And then think about how much money you can raise either from like your own savings or from your families, from your friends, in order to go and do that proof of concept. Because by the time you get to a VC, even if they're pre-seed, even if they're the quote unquote first check, they're not going to be the first check to just an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, some of this is a little bit evergreen advice for early stage startups, whether you're in economic calamity or not. But I think right now, in this moment with what's going on, traction matters more than I've ever seen it, right? So when you're talking about going out and testing with people at street fairs or any way to get attention on yourself, being able to walk into some of those first pitch meetings with early stage institutional capital, traction is going to be your biggest friend. Any traction that you can show, any traction that makes sense, whether it's revenue or just new users or whatever the traction is, that's going to matter possibly more than almost any other metric at this point, right? Because they want to know that you have an opportunity to actually grow. Their capital is going to go to growth. And so, yeah, I mean, I think to your point, anything you can do to get out and test. I mean, kind of gone are the days where you can, put together an idea on the back of a napkin, build it into a pitch deck, and just start going and pitching and get your rounds filled. I don't think that's been the reality for a while, but it's certainly not right now.
And it happens sometimes. And then a founder might be like, oh, wow, but so-and-so raises $1 million plus, and it was just an idea. And it's like, well, dig in a couple of like layers deeper, and you'll find out that one, they've already exited a company before. They've already had a pre-existing relationship with that VC, and they've already produced something of value. So then that trust factor goes, it's much more elevated than if they're just meeting you. So to your point, it might happen, but that's a rare situation. It's not the norm.
Yeah, well, and at Vinyl fairly often we work with clients kind of big and small. I mean, from Fortune 500 all the way down to venture-backed startups and sometimes earlier. And what I'm seeing right now is that a lot of founders are really trying to figure out how to build that MVP in very tight capital situations. And before it seemed like maybe they could find a first $100,000 check-in or a first $200,000 check-in, something on that like census scale. And that seems to be a lot harder right now. So I've seen founders try and turn to like AI tools to cut down their first MVP costs. I've seen a lot of like digital products that are being done in a very manual way where they've kind of bolted together a whole bunch of SaaS platforms, put a veneer on it, and like all that is in bounds. Like all that is a good way to go and prove that your idea has some kind of traction in the marketplace, that there's an actual market for what you're trying to do. And that's almost across the board. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of product you're building. Anything you can do to show that kind of traction is I think, really, really important. So what else should founders be thinking about? I mean, certainly pitches like Boise Entrepreneur Week, while there's prize money on the table, the truth is that it's really, really, really great practice, right? Like, you can get a $50,000 prize, but this is ultimately an opportunity to get mentorship, to get coaching, to practice these pitches, which are different than going in front of an investor. I mean, pitching in a pitch competition is something
very true.
Is something different. Yeah, maybe we could spend a minute talking about that. So what, in your eyes, what is like, where's the line between pitching in a pitch competition, which a lot of people do, and pitching in front of actual investors? What's the big difference between those two things?
See, that's a great question, because I'm going through that with one of my clients now. And the difference is, when you're in a pitch competition, your goal is to just have enough information to get someone excited to get the first meeting. Right. So like a lot of the situations and I'm guilty of this, I want to put so much information on every single slide, and I want to jam pack every single section with as much info, as many details, as many features that I can think of. But the problem with that is I'm overloading someone. They're actually not they're not going to take the time and like resonate with what I'm saying, because they're too busy reading the slide. And in fact, it's kind of is the first part of the dance of the courting, and that is just enough information so they understand what I'm building, the market, the problem that I'm solving, but not too much that they don't want to take a first meeting with me.
Yeah, and I think that's really important when you're delineating trying to pitch for funding. What I've seen over the years, 'cause I've judged an absolute gob of these, and
I've seen you in like over 10 in the last 2-3 months.
I honestly think they're a ton of fun. I mean, I get a lot of energy from doing this. You know, it's I get inspired hearing other people's passion for what they're doing. But in a pitch competition, the truth is how you present a very select amount of information is more important than how good the information is. I know that sounds slightly counterintuitive.
No, true though.
But you know, to your point, getting up on stage, it's really just about getting a select number of judges to believe a couple things. One, that you're the right person to solve this problem, right? Two, that there's a big enough market for you to run at this problem. And three, that you have some traction in the marketplace to prove that you know what you're doing, right? That's kind of it. Like, you just have to show passion in those three for a pitch competition. When you start pitching VC, it's very different, right? There's a whole lot of other things that are really going to be looked at. Now, VCs in early stage don't do a ton of due diligence on. There's not a lot to do due diligence on in a company. You're mostly just kind of, do I believe in the founder? Have I researched the idea enough to really understand that this is a thing that can be built? And then they're judging you on, again, to the first point we made, how much traction do you have? Because that's probably the most important to them, right? Do you have actual customers? Have you tested this, right? And so, you know, I think it's important to make that delineation. I know you're coaching a team right now. I've coached before, I've judged before, and there is a big difference. And I think sometimes early stage founders, especially first time founders, they don't quite know that there is a really clear delineation between the kinds of pitching that you're doing. You should never walk into a VC with the deck that you just pitched at a competition with. No way.
That's not going to go so well.
I mean, you know, maybe it will. I don't know.
The likelihood of that going well is very low.
There's a lot more. So, you know, if you're really curious about this, I mean, I've done some investment myself, really early stage stuff. Our partners at Vinyl made a handful of investments around. But if you're really curious about what VCs, you know, want, I think it's great to connect with people like Joel. I think it's really great to go directly to the capital sources. To Joel's point earlier, 6 months before you're trying to raise, just call up these firms. Most of them are like happy to grab a coffee or lunch, and you can literally be like, you know, I'm not raising yet, but I'm trying to get a feel of the capital landscape in my local ecosystem, and so I just love to chat with you about you guys' thesis, who you're investing in, and you know, who doesn't want to talk about themselves, right? So they're more than happy to meet with you and have that conversation. And you're going to learn so much about what you need to be preparing yourself for in that 6 month timeline, so that when you are ready to go stand in front of them and actually ask for capital, like, you've already got the information on what key metrics they're looking at. And not every firm's the same. I mean, some of them are looking at different things. Obviously, traction again's kind of universal, but like, that's a great way to try and prepare yourself to actually go and give those pitches. And most of these deals are not necessarily won or lost by the 10-minute slideshow you get. I mean, they're long conversations, but to your point, it's all about having the right information collected in the right way and delivered to make sure that they keep having the conversation with you. So,
yes, it's what I've noticed here in Boise is that the investors are taking on that community kind of vibe that I've noticed across different industries, which is great because they're so approachable. They're willing to take the meeting, they're willing to take the coffee, they're willing to just be helpful. And for a founder, just having these conversations with investors you get to put an actual human to these pictures that you're seeing, or to these pictures you're seeing on LinkedIn or on their websites, which makes them feel larger than life. But in reality, they're just another person, and they want to find opportunities. And so then the more they get to know you, the easier it is for them to make a decision by the time you're pitching to them.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to remember that if you think about how these funds come together, their literal job is to find safe harbors to deploy other people's capital, right? That's how a fund comes together. And so they want, in some regards, to sign a check. Like that's their actual job, to do that. And so, you have to go in with a little bit of confidence, knowing that, if you put together the right pitch, the right metrics, the right idea, that, they're incentivized to invest in you.
Yeah.
Right.
In a former life, I used to write $2 to $5 million checks. And to your point, when I got to write that check, it was exciting.
Yeah.
I wanted to be doing more of that. I just have to go through the process and get to know the founder first and go through the due diligence. But that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again.
Who doesn't want to write a big check?
No, I mean, if I could, I would, right?
I think you have it right.
And so, I think the last kind of point I want to touch on is just to kind of reiterate kind of what's going on in the now. I mean, I know it's election year, and that always has some ups and downs in what's going on with the market. The Fed a week ago lowered interest rates much lower than what people were expecting, which kind of is an indicator that they believe they're in a recession. And so these moments right now, you certainly can go raise. There are several companies that are now multi-billion-dollar companies that were started, fundraised, and founded during our last major recession. So it's very possible to go out and still build a company. What it really means is that it's not quite as easy, right? There's a few more of those key metrics that are really important to keep hitting, that are really important to pay attention to. So like bullet point 3 things, last little minute here that we got. If I'm a founder, I've gone and 6 months ago I started talking to VCs.
Yeah.
Because that was your advice.
Yeah.
And I'm going in for my first pitch, and I think I have an idea. What are the 3 things my slide deck has to have before I walk in that door?
Problem.
Nice.
Solution. And any traction that you have.
There you go. I would agree with all 3 of those points. Those are probably the key major points. You could almost slide in as a 4th one. I'm cheating. I'm adding a point after.
Wow. I only got 3. Okay.
You can almost slide in, why you're the founder to solve the problem. Why it's you.
That would have been my 4th.
Why
You
it's
gave
you.
me 3.
Yeah. So listen, it was a really exciting conversation. Thank you, Joel, for having it with me. I think, again, if you're watching and if you can only come down to one thing at Boise Entrepreneur Week all week, come watch the pitch competition, come meet our future leaders in Boise, Idaho, and cheer alongside the rest of us as we award a $50,000 check to a winner this year. Really excited to be here. Coming at you next with another Boise Entrepreneur Week Live. I'll let Mark take us away.
Whoop, whoop.
Here at Vinyl, we work in a number of different fields. Much of our work is in 2 sectors, health tech and financial services. Working in these industries comes with several unique considerations, and it takes a knowledgeable team to execute products that are compliant and secure. Respect for users' privacy is paramount. Our clients and ultimately their end users are putting a lot of trust in the systems that we build. It's important that we honor that trust and that we build systems that validate the trust that they've invested in us. Whoever you hire to build your product, make sure they take privacy and security seriously. And at Vinyl, we certainly do.
Hello out there. Thanks for tuning in to Bu Live. That was day one of our mini segments for you. What you just heard today was a whole variety of bite-sized conversations capturing the main focus of what's being talked about this year at Boise Entrepreneur Week. Be sure to tune in live tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. We've got a whole second half of this Bu Live programming for you. And if you can get down to Jump to take part in the in-person action, even better. It's a free event, so register online, download the Bu app to take a look at what's happening, and come on down and join us. For the rest of the day, we've got the tech track taking place from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then the tech track, health tech track, and cyber track are all joining together for a big happy hour at the end of the day called Connect Tech. This is a great opportunity if you work in tech, if you work in cybersecurity or health tech, get down, meet the people who are leading the conversation here in Idaho, and have a drink. It'll be a lot of fun. Tomorrow at Bu, we've got the corporate innovation track, the start track, the small business track, and the military track, as well as, you've probably heard throughout this live broadcast, we've got our trail mix pitch competition. So come by starting around 1 p.m. tomorrow to sample and mingle with our trail mix finalists, and then stick around for 5:30 p.m. where you'll see them compete for $50,000, a little more than $5,000, $50,000 shelf space at Albertsons. And this year we're adding a $3,500 prize from the Studio Blue out of Boise State University. They're going to do a full consumer study on our Trail Mix finalist winner. So stay tuned and stay tuned and come by Jump to take part in all the fun. Thanks for watching. Welcome to Trailhead Boise. We're located in the heart of downtown Boise. My name is Jacob. I'm our Director of Operations. Let me show you our co-working space. Our co-working memberships are designed to be affordable and accessible to any price point, and we offer two main types of memberships. What you're seeing behind me is our hot desk membership. This is your standard co-working setup. All of our desks are seat stand adjustable. They come with a monitor and an HDMI hookup. You come in, you find an open desk, and you get to work. If you're looking for a little bit more of a dedicated experience in a co-working space, we offer a dedicated desk membership. This provides you 24/7 access to Trailhead, a desk that's reserved for your exclusive use, and the ability to leave equipment, decorate the desk how you please, make it your own. Both of these membership levels come with access to reserve our meeting rooms. We've got a private meeting room, which is great for confidential calls, 2 group meeting rooms, which are conference style, great for collaboration, and then we've got 2 phone booths, which are great for quick calls on the go. Co-working is really just the beginning. We have a full suite of programs like Boise Pitch Night, You Lead Idaho, Boise Entrepreneur Week, Idea Set Go, and many more, which you can find on our website, tailored to help you at any step of your entrepreneurial journey. Whether you're at the very first stages, trying to take an idea from a napkin and turn it into a business, or you're pitching for your first investments, all the way to raising your Series A rounds. We have a full suite of tailored programs to help you learn the skills you need to be successful and connect you to the people in our resources who can help take your business to the next level. So whether you're an entrepreneur looking to start or grow your business, or a remote worker looking to switch up the home office and find community, we're probably a great fit for you. Check us out next time you're in downtown Boise.